which he says probably can't come soon enough for some people. And Jason Crumps, leaving the Bellevue Aces, the 33-year-old Aussie insists he has been happy at Bellevue. There's no suggestion of any financial problems, and there's no question of him riding for another British club in 2009.
BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
There's nothing great in this forecast, I'm afraid. The rain is still on its way, and once it turns up, it is going to be fairly heavy from time to time. It's going to stick with us for most of daylight hours as well. And that's only half the story, because as the day goes on, the wind will pick up. It is, however, quite a mild one, if that's any consolation. Top temperature, 14 Celsius.
Have lunch with Allan Beswick.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Oh, yeah, you're all right. Good on you. I'm Allan Beswick, and for the next couple of hours, it's your opportunity to dabble in and dabble out if you so desire. Telephone number, if you are that way, is 0161 228 2255. The email address is radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk, and the text number is 07786 206 951. Dead easy. We make it easy so that I can understand it, obviously. The papers today, they're all talking about entirely different things. I thought I'd start. Every Thursday morning, I think it is, they have a briefing in the House of Commons for the press, where the press put questions either direct to the Prime Minister on some occasions, or to his formal representative, which is usually some press wonk. And these... It's been quite illuminating, this morning's press conference, apparently, because it's been a series of, effectively, no comment. Listen to this. The first of the main questions was, on the meeting with Lord Mandelson, Alistair Darling and the banks on lending to small and media enterprises, the Treasury may brief later. Well, OK, we've got that. And whether the banks hadn't been recapitalised, we've got all that. And then the second question, when it gets into the specifics, asked whether the Prime Minister thought Lord Mandelson should set out where and when he met Deripaski. This is the oligarch, the Russian oligarch. The response was this. This is not a matter for the government, but for the European Commission, as Mandelson wasn't a government minister at the time. They asked about George Osborne, asked whether the authorities, the Prime Minister... Which authorities? At Prime Minister's Question Time just today, as almost an aside and a closing line, the Prime Minister said, and I hope the authorities will investigate George Osborne. Well, when asked which authorities, the spokesperson said, this is a party political matter, as he was referring to an opposition member of Parliament, so no comment. Asked if Phil Woolas would be replaced by another government minister on Question Time. Phil Woolas is on Question Time tonight. Phil Woolas, another one of our MPs, of course, George Woolas, he'd love that. George Osborne is one of ours, as is Phil Woolas, and he's been making comments about immigration recently that has upset one or two people. So they think, well, he might be replaced on Question Time, get someone rather in keeping with current government policy, perhaps. And they said, that's a matter for Question Time. I asked about fuel poverty. The government won its case against anti-fuel poverty campaigners in the High Court, but the Prime Minister's spokesman wouldn't even comment on that, referring inquiries to Ed Miliband's new department. In other words, they've had this whole Question Time thing for the Prime Minister's spokesperson, and he's not answered one question. Not one. Absolutely extraordinary. Never mind, we can get a bit of help from Georgie. Georgie sends me this. And it's in relation to the banking system and why there must be constant economic growth. In recent years, we went for forever without bothering about inflation. Inflation was invented, effectively, in the 20th century. Before that, money stayed at exactly the value that money was. There were various things where the coinage itself diminished in value because it had been worn away. But effectively, there was no such thing as inflation because money was real and it stayed tied to money. That was it. It was just dead straightforward. Inflation didn't exist. Well, this is George's interpretation of the modern banking system. Apparently, the Bank of England in 1694 created a pyramid loan system where new money is brought into the economy on the back of new loans. 300 years later, 97% of US money is created in this way. That is, new investors must be continually sucked in at the bottom of the pyramid to pay the loans of the people higher up the pyramid. Of the 97%, only 10% is actual hard capital. The rest is theoretical money, also known as counterfeit money. Without exponential growth, these loans don't get paid. Now that the pyramid system is failing, there is no comeback. Shoring up the economy only lets the insiders get out before they collapse. That's reassuring, isn't it? That's lifted me into the realms of, oh, how absolutely fantastic that what we do is we pour all this money into the banks, and then when they've all sorted out themselves, they sling their out, the bank collapses, and we're left looking like numpties. Well, there you go. Was it ever going to be anything else? Of course it wasn't. But the good news is that the economy is not on the front of every newspaper today. There's actually other stuff on there. The Sun starts, as I mentioned earlier, with the wonderful story, "The fans want me dead." Joey Barton says, and you heard it in the news, soccer thug Joey Barton admitted yesterday that many fans would like to see him dead. In an incredibly frank interview, the Newcastle United star, who did time for assault, was banned for hitting a teammate, said, "My reputation will precede me until the day I die." For some people, that probably can't be quick enough. Well, OK. What's the most surprising thing in that, for me, is the fact that Joey Barton uses words like precede. Also on the front page of the Sun, yacht a muddle. This is the story about Gideon visiting somebody on a yacht. Gordon Brown left MPs in a muddle yesterday by demanding a probe into Yachtgate, apparently, but refusing to say who should carry it out. He said there should be an inquiry, but there's no specific authority to carry out such an inquiry. So whereas he was on the front foot, he makes a stupid remark like that and ends up on the back foot and making comments like no comment this morning. Daily Mail front page, the story that everybody enjoyed except perhaps the girl. Fayed in quiz over sex attack on girl. Mohammed Al-Fayed was questioned by police yesterday over claims he sexually assaulted a girl of 15. Together Forever is the headline on the front page of the Daily Mirror, which is one of those sick remarks. Well, I think they're sick. I may be alone. But Together Forever, these are the first poignant pictures of the loving family of 6 wiped out in a motorway fireball crash. David and Michelle Statham died on the M6 with their sons Reese, 13, Jay, 9, Mason, 20 months, and baby Louise, just 10 weeks. Yesterday, relatives poured out their grief in website tributes. Well, of course they did. Of course they did. But that thing, Together Forever, I have a bit of trouble with that. I really have. I mean, you have to find a way, if you're involved, you have to find a way, if you're their relatives, their friends. The man was a teacher, even the pupils. They have to find a way through it. And that's the kind of, I don't know, almost patronising stuff we say in those circumstances. I'm not diminishing it, it's how people cope. But you just think, blimey, is that the best you've got? Front page of the Manchester Evening News. And we have My Hope of Life After a U-Turn. A cracking story. A terminally ill grandmother spoke of her joy after health chiefs finally agreed to pay for the life-extending drug Sutent. So that's good, isn't it? We at least have some good news on the front of a newspaper. Good for her and good for everybody else, you might say. It's getting on for 12:15. You can talk about whatever you feel like, and frankly, you can email, you can text, you can comment, any way you like. We're going to talk to JJ in Ramsbottom in a moment.
This was the train crossing the border, losing branch lines, no work, disorder. The network's reshaping, cuts bring a frown. To hill and dale, valley and town, thousands of jobs gone up in smoke. The factories, the stations, the neighbours, poor folk.
I'm Stuart McConey. Join me and frustrated locals on a journey from Marple to Manchester. Once minutes by rail, now hours by road. Down the line, Sunday at 4:25 on BBC One North West.
One man to thank with changes far-reaching. The Axeman, the saviour. Oh dear, Dr. Beeching.
Heather earlier was talking about white lies. And David says, so, should we not tell children white lines anymore? So no more crap about Father Christmas or telling kids Peter Pan can fly or even Joey Barton is a changed character. And when a child asks, Mum, you told your dad to sling his hook, Mum, what does that mean? Yeah. Well, there you go. I've no idea. But white lies? There's no such thing, surely. JJ in Ramsbottom. Hiya.
Good morning.
What have you got?
I believe the government's a bit short of money at the moment.
They seem to be, yes. They seem to be giving it away like there's no tomorrow.
Well, I'm trying to pay them some money and they don't want it.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll have it.
No, you won't.
I'll look after it until they're ready to accept it. That'll be fine. What do you mean?
Right. They've overpaid us on child tax credits.
Right.
And they sent a demand saying, can you pay this amount?
Yeah.
And they give you a telephone helpline, a payment helpline number to sort things out.
So you have to phone and pay good money?
Yeah.
So that so that you can then give them back the money that they gave you in error?
Correct.
Good Lord.
So I ring the number, and of course the security checks, data protection, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
Name, date of birth, national insurance number, address, wife's national insurance number.
Inside leg, all the rest of it, yeah.
Well, I gave them that, but they haven't got it on the system. And they said, oh, no, you failed on 2 points. So I said, well, if you can tell me what the 2 points are, perhaps we can get the anomaly sorted out.
Yes.
I said, no, we can't do that. So I tried again 5 minutes later, went through the system.
Yeah.
You failed on 1 point.
Right.
So I spoke to a supervisor, came up with the same story. In other words, I don't know what's on their system.
Yes.
Or how they've got the details. But how am I supposed to know what's on their to give them the information if I don't know what's on their system?
But it is tricky. But what, I mean, presumably they're only asking... What sort of questions do they ask? Don't give me the answers, that's your business. But what sort of things do they ask?
Right, the name, date of birth.
Now, you would think you knew both of those.
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, for you.
National insurance number.
Again, you'd think I could rattle mine off straight away.
Well, it's on the letter anyway.
Well, that's really secret, isn't it? Right, so that's going awfully well, yeah.
Address.
Yeah, and you got the letter, so we have to presume that you know where you live and the postman does. And,
well, I think I do.
And it must match what they put on the letter, you would hope. Yeah.
My wife's national insurance number.
I guess you
on
got
the letter as well.
That's on right.
My employment status.
Right.
Name of the employer.
Yeah.
Clock number or reference number.
Yeah, okay.
The bank account that the child credits were paid into.
Yes.
Which happens to be my wife's account.
Mm-hmm.
And there were probably a few other things, but quite honestly, I couldn't remember them.
Well, frankly, I understand that, but frankly, they sound to me like perfectly easy things for you to know. It's not like did you give a code word 15 years ago and you've now forgotten what it is?
Yeah,
there's nothing of that nature. Right. So it's all basic information. Mm-hmm. And it's almost certainly the case that they've got a digit wrong somewhere.
Well, I suggested that they were implying that their system was infallible.
Yes. Well, they believe that. That's why they overpaid you. So, no, our system's perfect. Then why did you overpay me? Well, the payment system's an entirely different system.
Yeah. Precisely.
Well,
so basically,
what are you going to do?
I'm not quite sure what to do.
Dare I ask how much it is?
It's just over 100 quid.
So it's a good lump of brass.
Yeah.
I've no idea what to do. You've tried. I'd tell you what to do from here on in. Keep a diary of your attempts to return the money.
Yeah.
Because when if they start getting heavy-handed...
Which they may well do.
Which they may well do. You can then say, well, hang on a minute, this is what I have done in order to pay you back. But frankly, your system isn't intelligent enough to deal with it. So I would keep a diary, and I'd make the diary retrospective from here. So write down all you've done thus far. The other alternative is to write them a letter, keep a copy of it, and write to them the address on the letter that they've sent to you. Never mind the phone.
Oh no, that's another thing. I asked for the address of the complaints.
Well, don't worry about complaints, but
no,
they've written...
That was 8 lines long.
Well, fair enough, but they've written to you, haven't they? So almost certainly on the letter they've written to you will be their address.
Yes, there is one.
Right. Well, you write back to that address. And you can either include a cheque for the sum if you're going to pay it off in one lump, You can include a cheque for the sum, because then if the cheque doesn't clear in 6 months, then fine, it's gone awry.
They're not that inefficient, are they?
Oh, don't you kid yourself. You know they are. The alternative, and it's worth considering, is hang on to it, but in the meantime, I mean, I'm working on the basis here that you concede that it's been overpaid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you accept that you owe it to them, and you're trying to pay it to them. I mean, frankly, in your position, I would just keep a diary of the attempts I've made, and when they next contact you and say, where the hell's our money, say, you tell me how to pay it, and I'll pay it. But until you do, you're stuffed.
Yeah.
Stick with that.
Right.
And I don't think it will, but if it dies on the vine, fine. Don't spend it, that's the main thing. Put it somewhere where it's safe, so that's most of the banks out of the question. I should carry it round with a flag on your head saying, I've got 100 quid in my back pocket, you're safer than putting it in the bank. but put it somewhere like the post office or something until they shut that. Oh, dear God. I don't know what to... Convert it to gold and get a ring made out of it and then melt it down when they want it. There's a variety of ways, but seriously, put it in an account and let it build a couple of coppers of interest until they finally get their access.
I think that slip was okay, a couple of cobblers.
A couple of cobblers, yeah, complete and utter cobblers all the way through, hasn't it? But most importantly, keep a diary of what's gone on, so that when they do start getting heavy-handed, you say, look, on this date, this date, this date, this date, this date, and this date, these are the things I did and got nowhere. So I sat still until you got your act together.
Right.
All right, mate.
Okay.
Try that. It could be fun. I'll talk to you next in jail.
Cheers. Joining me?
No, they have phones. You're all right. Have a good day. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
There you are. So he owes the government £100. It's not like they're not desperate for it at the minute, is it? Going to talk to Eric after the heads. Right now, it's just gone 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines.
A 40-year-old woman from Manchester is being questioned on suspicion of terror offences. She was arrested in Longsight on Friday after officers searched addresses in Manchester and Holland. Greater Manchester Police is not one of 13 forces who've been under-recording the number of the most serious violent crimes in their area. The Home Office has released the figures this morning. And sex education is going to be made compulsory in all schools in England. It means secondary and primary school children will get taught the facts of life. Manchester's weather, windy today with some rain around, highs of 14 Celsius.
And that, of course, was Anna Dawson. My apologies.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
M60 clockwise in Manchester, we've got a lane closed on the entry slip road there due to emergency repairs at junction 2 Cheadle Roscoe roundabout. It's lane 1 out of the 2 just after the roundabout, but traffic seems to be coping well in the area at the moment. On the M66 westbound coming towards us from Yorkshire, we've got the lane closed on the exit slip road there. In fact, 2 separate incidents ongoing in the same area. We've got a fuel spillage but also a broken down lorry on the M62 westbound at junction 22 Rishworth Moor. Also in the areas, very strong winds across the Brakewood Viaduct as well, between Milnrow at 21 and Rishworth Moor 22, where the matrix has been set to 50 miles an hour. If you want to update us, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Matthew Cameron.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Ian in Stockport says the plans to introduce new full-body scanners at airports that allow security guards to see through clothing surely can't go ahead. People may wonder what will happen to the images. Could they be stored and misused? What about children? There must be a limit to what the public will allow in the name of security. Yeah, are you scared about them? I mean, if they're like X-rays, then frankly, anyone can have a look at my skeleton as long as they do it from the outside. I mean, I don't want people buttering in to have a good look round, but they can have a look. An X-ray is not a sexy thing, is it? Unless you like really thin people. Eric in Salford. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Alan. Nice to speak to you again.
How are you, sir?
Right. The other week it was mentioned about Sick Note Britain, about people diving on the sick and not wanting to work and
yes, it
this
was.
sort of thing, you know. Well, excuse me, what I want to talk about is prescription pad Britain.
Go on.
Where, you know, the NHS are throwing medication at people to get rid of them, not in every case, but in cases it is happening. And one example of this is I suffer from fibromyalgia and was given...
Do you want to just tell us in half a sentence what that is? I know it's heart-related.
Fibromyalgia, no, it's to do with the joints and the muscles.
All right, well, there you are. It's just as well you did tell us. It's a good job I'm not your doctor. Go on.
Right, but anyway, what the treatment for that is painkillers and other stuff, you know. And they gave me tramadol and amitriptyline, which is, you was a psychiatric nurse, I understand, was you?
I was, yes.
At one time. And that is like, as a calming effect, like tranquilizer in a way, and an antidepressant.
Right.
And it complements the tramadol.
Yeah.
Right, and I thought to myself, well, hang on a minute. If I can get by without taking these, like it says on the packet, 3 times a day and 4 times a day,
Yeah.
if I can cope without taking this, that's not up to the doctor. That's up to me what drugs I take. And it's not up to the doctor at all. And I went back and I said, look, I don't want them. I don't want them amitriptyline. I want to try and manage without them. And the doctor said, fine. Now, why wasn't that said at first? Why wasn't that discussed at first? Why was it given? And amitriptyline is highly addictive. Which brings me on to something else. About 1972, I had panic attacks. Didn't know what the hell had happened to me. And the shortened version of all this is, I was put on Valium.
Yeah.
And I was on them for 10 years, and went off on cold turkey because I was told tests proved they don't work, and went through absolute torture in my mind and physically. And came out the other end and never went back on them, and that cold turkey lasted about 2 years. Right. And to take it on a bit further, I was asked, did I want to speak to somebody? And I did, and I went on a therapy group, anxiety management, and finished up running that group for 20 years, qualified as a anxiety management counsellor. And the insight of going through, or the empathy, if you like, of going through what I went through, was invaluable to the people. And me, I was still learning off them, if you know what I mean. So I'm a bit anti-drug, as you can imagine. You know, so I'm on that side most definitely. And I speak to people even now. I'm 66 now. I did that job for 20 years, retired now. And people are still being given these drugs and still having drugs thrown at them.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do you think the doctors should be doing rather than prescribing fairly common drugs to people? What should they be doing?
Well, I think when I say I'm anti-drug, let me just say this. Valium has a role to play. It's the misuse of these tranquilizers. Tests have proved after a few months these don't work. So it's very much a short-term treatment. And I think that should be used in conjunction with counselling and understanding what these symptoms mean. I'll give you an example of what I mean. When it comes to anger, I'd look at that in simplistic terms of that is a bag containing depression, anxiety and insecurity. But you need to understand...
Well, first of all, that kind of judgment you just made, and I'm not saying in any way that you're wrong, but people who are trained wouldn't make the simplistic decision you just made, and they wouldn't make the simplistic statement either. So I'm not saying you're wrong. It may well be that someone who's trained for 12 years would look at what you just said and say, well, there's a 50-50 chance you're right. But the trouble with the 50-50 chance you're right might well also, indeed inevitably, includes a 50-50 chance you're wrong. You see, we go to the doctor on the basis that the doctor knows what to do about what I present him with. Now, they don't always get it right, and some doctors are very, very keen on dishing out drugs, but that's because that's what most of their patients want. The fact that you went back to the doctor and said, I don't want to take that, and he or she said, well, it's fine, don't then, doesn't mean the doctor was wrong to do so, because on the balance of probabilities, most people that the doctor sees with your symptoms, that is precisely what they need.
Well, I think what happens... Excuse me, Alan, I've got a very bad chest today.
Have you thought of the doctors, or are you scared of me? Sorry, mate.
It's okay.
Go on.
I should have seen that coming. No. As you know, Alan, in psychiatry, a lot of things are controversial.
Well, I think they all are. None of them need to be, but yes.
Yeah, and one person's opinion quite often differs from another because we're dealing with psychiatry.
Well, we're dealing with things we can't check. We're dealing with pure opinion often.
That's right, and that's why it's often controversial. And if what I'm saying is controversial, it will be, because that's the nature of what we're talking about. Right. But I think when you give somebody a prescription, and for example, if a doctor says, look, I'm going to give you these, this will help you with that or whatever, I think it would be better if they said, Luke, do you want to speak to... Instead of saying, do you want to speak to somebody, and they might not feel up to, they'll be lacking in confidence because they're feeling anxious and so on, and will this mean I've got to go in a group and speak where people are?
But the problem, I mean, people talk about the modern, by modern I mean in the last 50 years, the modern approach is talking therapy. The great problem with talking therapy is, A, it doesn't work in an emergency very often. B, there are very few areas of the country where it is readily available on tap, whereas the drugs are, and often drugs are able to work and get you past the bit. The bit you're complaining about here is the element of the prescription that I think would be argued was given to help you to relax, because your physical relaxation, and by that I mean removing your muscular tension, the physical relaxation will actually enable you to deal with your condition more easily. So that's why they were given. Now, you can object to that, and if you like, to use your expression, do it as cold turkey. Discuss that with your doctor, yes, and you did, and the doctor said, fine, just do the bit that you need, do if you like, the medical compounds you need to redress the balance in your condition. But frankly, the doctor on first examination thought you might be better off if you could physically relax somewhat. I'm not a doctor, I'm not in a position to discuss that with you, but that's the sensation I'm getting.
Right. Well, my job when I know it was a local health centre where I worked for 20 years. I was also a relaxation tutor, which is the Jacobson type relaxation, clenching, letting go.
Yeah.
Now, I'll give you an example. One lady came in.
I really am today. I've not had time for too many examples and things.
Okay.
Just, I mean, what are you wanting to achieve in this conversation? Let's do that in a couple of sentences, and then we can move on, because people will be beginning to get worried and start thinking all doctors are balmy. Mind you, if you work from that preposition, you're not doing too bad. But go on, having seen a few.
Like I said initially, prescription Pad Britain. Instead of talking about people getting off the sick and getting a job, what about looking at alternatives to tranquilizers and things like relaxation techniques and counselling? That is the gist of what I'm saying.
Absolutely so. But just to counter that for everybody else's benefit, counselling doesn't work for everyone, but drugs are a chemical thing and work on a percentage basis for more people than does counselling. And counselling is, so many of the people giving counselling outside of the National Health Service are absolute rubbish and self-appointed busybodies, and not all of them by any means. But there isn't a yardstick to work out which is which. And again, talking therapy is a very, very slow process.
Yes.
Good on you, Eric.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. Prescription Pad Britain is not the first to say it. Doctors very, very quickly grab the prescription pad, give you the drugs, and get you out the surgery, because they too are under pressure. Do you think he's right? Do you think doctors prescribe drugs, particularly what you might call behaviour-changing drugs, too readily? Have you endured them? I mean, years ago, he mentioned one, didn't he? He mentioned one of the most common ones that many, many, many people were on, and it's not a new thing. The Rolling Stones did a song back in our day, didn't they? Mother's Little Helper. She said, stop. It was called Here It Comes. I can't remember the two. Mother's Little Helper. Anyway, it was basically talking about pills. I can't remember the lyric now. I wish I hadn't started. Sarah in Crumpsall. Hiya, Sarah.
Hiya, Alan. This is really a request from some of your older, if your older listeners could help me. I'm looking for a waxed rope suitable for a clothes rack.
Oh, you can get them at B&Q.
Oh, no, you can't.
Well, I
Oh,
did.
no. Listen, you're my last resort, so I'm hoping that one of the older people... There's plenty of ropes, but they're not making the wax now, and what the ropes...
They are. Go on.
Well, what the ropes are for now...
Yeah.
It's for clotheslines.
Right.
Now, I mean, I've had mine 57 years. I've not had the rope 57 years, but I've been able to replenish when I've needed them. They are a bit more expensive, but they don't wear out quickly. They last for at least a year.
Well, I tell you, yeah.
And you know, when I go into these shops and I see these young people, they think I'm balmy. They don't even know what I'm talking about.
You tell me, very roughly, what thickness you want that rope to be.
Oh, only like about quarter of an
Quarter of an inch. I'll tell you what you want.
Yeah.
And I know they make this because I've just had it done.
Yeah.
You want the rope they use for sash windows.
Oh, right.
Now, that's a woven rope, and it's plasticated. By that, it's got you know, the wax on it, a plastication or whatever.
It's not ordinary plastic, is
No. Hey, listen, you're not talking to an idiot, you know. But honestly, it must be about a year ago now, we had one of the windows restrung, as they say, because we got sash windows in our house. And they did it with that, and that's exactly the rope you want. And that's
I'll need a builder, won't I? Builder's yard.
I don't think you will need a builder, you see, because I'm certain... You're in Crumpsall. You've got B&Qs near you.
I have, yes.
If you go into the handyman store, just go in and go to the rope bit. And they do wire and they do rope. And they have it on an iron bar, and there's like 20 different kinds.
I know what you mean, yes.
And they didn't have that one in yours?
No, they said well, of course, I asked for wrap ropes. I asked for, on pulleys.
Yeah, well, what you do, go and have a look.
I never thought about this.
Go and have a look. Right? Just go and have a look and you'll find it. And if you don't find it, I'll eat me hat. I'm taking that back because you won't find it. I've not got an hat. But you know what I mean? You will be able to, honestly, you will be able to find it. And if you're not, then others will tell you where you can get it from. But that's what you want. Sash rope for sash windows.
I mean, I know it's a bit old-fashioned, but what with all the prices going up, the gas and electricity, I just put them on the rack and there they are, right?
I mean, I don't think you're going to get 50 years out of it, you tight one.
God, listen, if I have 50 years out of it, I'll be 120.
You won't be worried too much then, will you?
I won't.
Well, there you are.
Alan, you have helped me.
That's what I do.
I know, you're lovely.
You first of all come on treating me like I'm a numpty, and then you say you've helped me with surprise in your voice.
Oh, no. I wouldn't have phoned you if I would.
Well, that's what you want to try for. Because
all right,
honestly,
Alan.
we've just about a year ago had our windows done with exactly that.
Well, I'll go and see them.
And if you don't get it, tell them I sent you.
That's right. That'll frighten them.
Yeah, of course it will.
Thanks a lot,
all right,
Alan.
Sarah, if you can help her further, if you can name some specific place in the Crumpsall area where she can get that, dead easy. I thought it would be easy anyway. Surely, what's it for a washing line? Crying out loud. The song, according to David in Rochdale and Colin in Flixton, is the 19th Nervous Breakdown, which everybody knows. And Hayley, one of our producers, has even sent me the lyric. What a drag it is getting old. Kids are different today. I hear every mother say mother needs something today to calm her down. And though she's not really ill, there's a little yellow pill. She goes running for the shelter of her mother's little helper, and it helps her on her way, gets her through. I'm not going through it all. I didn't think I sang that one. Well, I didn't just. Anyway, there you are. Mother's Little Helper. But it was called 19th Nervous Breakdown. Actually, I might have it on here. I might have it on my computer. Let's have a look. I don't know how to work this. Hang on a minute. Well, you're not doing anything else, are you? There's no rush. Rolling Stones. There you are. And then I press the binoculars. What? Stop whirling at me. Oh, I see. I've got to tick that. Hang on. I'm just... It's a computer. You can't expect... Ruby Tuesday, paint it black. I can't get no nervous breakdown. It's all over now. Not fit. It's not on. I've not got it. It's an outrage and a scandal. That's all I've got to say. They know nothing about the Rolling Stones, these computers. Mind you, they have got Honky Tonk Woman. That's an absolute belter. I saw them do that in Hyde Park. Well, not just me. There was a big concert on. It was free, though, else I wouldn't have been there. Anyway, there we go. Sash window repaired. What is it? You've just had your sash window repaired. Are you replacing your mantles and your gas lamps as well? Sash window? What's wrong with sash windows? They're miles better than all the rubbish they have now. Them swingy opening ones with a nurgle and a cananker with them spikes sticking up with holes in your cananker. No, sash window. They're fantastic sash windows. They're the best windows of all. Unless the ropes go, and then if you lean out, they cut you in half. Alan, tell the man who seems to enjoy being told he can't speak to the correct people to send them a cheque. That's what I did. I think that's in relation to JJ, who was on first, trying to repay the child credit. Just send them a cheque and the job will be sorted. I did suggest that amongst the many other things, but maybe it's always better to sit back, lie back, relax and think of England. You never know. 0161 228 2255. And we're going to... It's all right, don't worry. We're going to talk with... Oh, I don't know who we're going to talk with. It's always somebody after anyway. It could be you. 0161 228 2255. It's just gone 20 to 1 on BBC Radio Manchester. Anna Dawson has the headlines.
Police are questioning a 40-year-old woman from Manchester on suspicion of terror offences. She was arrested in Longsight on Friday. Violent crime across Greater Manchester is going down, according to crime figures released today. And Greater Manchester's police force is not one of the 13 which have been named today for under-recording the most serious violent crimes. And sex education is going to be made compulsory in all schools in England. It means secondary and primary school children will get taught the facts of life. Manchester's weather windy and rainy today, highs of 14 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
On the M62 westbound, we've got two separate incidents at the moment ongoing there. Fuel spillage and also a broken down lorry that's lost its tarpaulin at the moment. It's on the M62 westbound at junction 22 at Rishworth Moor. Also, we've got strong winds in the area, which means between 21 at Milne Road through to 22 at Rishworth Moor, the matrix sign's been set to 50 miles an hour in the area. In Manchester on the M60 clockwise, we've got an entry slip road closure. Emergency repair works are happening at the moment on the M60 clockwise at junction 2 Cheadle Roscoe roundabout. It's lane 1 out of the 2 off the motorway on the onto the motorway on the entry slip road from the roundabout. And a quick reminder that Piccadilly and Piccadilly Gardens tram stations are shut in Manchester city centre with a shuttle bus service between the two stations. If you want to update us, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Matthew Cameron.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Well, we'll start with some news just in. Former world champion Jason Crump has told BBC Radio Manchester that he hasn't ridden for Bellevue for the last time. The Australian has announced that he won't be returning to Kirkmansham Lane next season. However, he intends to honour the second year of a 2-year contract.
If anybody ever thinks that my ambition at Bellevue Speedway's finished, then they're wrong. It's just a time in my life when I need to do something different for a little while. So I'd like to thank all the fans who've given me tremendous support up there over the years. They've always backed me 100%. Don't feel that I've let you down because I'll be back again one day, just when I'm not sure.
Well, Charlie Hodgson gets a chance to re-establish himself in the Sale number 10 shirt when he starts tomorrow's EDF Cup match against Bath. Richard Wigglesworth has been preferred at fly half for the Sharks' 2 games in the Heineken Cup. Prop Rob O'Donnell makes his debut, whilst new signing Dave Ward starts on the bench. But coach Kingsley Jones isn't taking the competition lightly.
The EDF is important, and I think we never want to lose at home. We've got 2 home games in the EDF this year, so of course we took that serious as well. And 2 home games, you win those, and more than likely you'll be in a semi-final in a big game. So, you know, we got, as I said, a squad of 30, and we have confidence in all those players to play in any game they selected.
We will have coverage right here on BBC Radio Manchester and the all-new Manchester Sports tomorrow night from 7 o'clock. In Rugby League, Warrington captain Adrian Morley has signed a 1-year contract extension at the club. Morley's original 3-year deal was due to finish at the end of 2009, but following his impressive form, the club were keen to extend the England international stay past his 33rd birthday. Meanwhile, homegrown Wolves duo Chris Riley and Lee Mitchell, they've both agreed new 3-year contracts. England coach Tony Smith has made 3 changes to the side that beat France in June for Saturday's World Cup opener against Papua New Guinea. Wigan forward Gareth Hock replaces Sam Burgess. There's a place for St Helens' man of steel James Graham, and Leeds utility back Lee Smith comes in for Mark Calderwood. Salford's John Wilshire is in the Papua New Guinea team and says the game is completely different back in his homeland.
You know, it's just crazy. I mean, you get one family member supporting, you know, one side and another supporting the other, and it's like you say, it can cause riots. We're talking tear gases and, you know, guard dogs, you name it, the lot, and you know, they're just crazy. And then when you get a game up there, you know, you need to calm the crowd down, and it just boils over onto the field, and you know, it can get a bit crazy up there.
Well, some other rugby league news this afternoon, and Oldham fullback Paul O'Connor has signed a new one-year deal with the Ruffians. Wigan manager Steve Bruce admits he faces a fight to keep Amir Zaki at the JJB following the Egyptians' impressive start to life in the Premier League. Bruce told the newspaper over the next few weeks we'll try and open negotiations with Zamalek. Obviously, the better he does, the bigger the fee. He's our player, but we're in the driving seat. Former Manchester City midfielder Joey Barton says he wants to be a role model to kids who can't relate to squeaky clean footballers like David Beckham and Michael Owen. Barton admits that his reputation will precede him until the day he dies, which he says probably can't come soon enough for some people. The group stages of the UEFA Cup begin this evening with Aston Villa, Portsmouth and Tottenham all in action, with 5 teams in the groups. City have the game off this week. FC Twente host Racing Santander. FC Schalke are at home to Paris Saint-Germain. Young defender Johnny Evans says he's willing to bide his time in establishing himself as a Manchester United regular. The 21-year-old made just his 5th United start in the 3-0 win over Celtic on Tuesday, but whilst he's ready to play the waiting game, he admits it can be frustrating.
Yeah, you do. You think you just got to look at other players who, there's top-class players here who still aren't getting in, playing week in, week out. John O'Shea, you know, sometimes he has to bide his time. He's a great player. He can probably play in any position in the park, but, you know, you see how well he takes it, and he's still model professional and trains as hard as anyone.
Well, the Dubai-based Zabil Investments have pulled out of a deal to buy Championship side Charlton Athletic. They say it's partly because of current concerns about foreign ownership and the worsening economic climate in the UK. In tennis, defending champion Andy Murray faces Latvian Ernest Gulbis today in the second round of the St. Petersburg Open tennis. And finally, for now in golf, John Bickerton is the current leader of the Castella Masters in Spain. He's 6 under par after 16 holes, 1 shot ahead of Simon Dyson. Sergio Garcia is 4 under.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Well, as you heard, Charlie Hodgson's back in the number 10 shirt for sale. The Sharks face Bath in the EDF Cup tomorrow evening. We'll have coverage in the all-new Manchester Sports tomorrow from 7.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. 07786 206 951, and of course, if you want to talk, 0161 228 2255. You pick the subjects, I've got nothing better to do. Ken in Knutsford. Hiya, Ken.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I was going to give you some grief about the fact there was no B&Q in Crumpsall, because it's C-R-U-M-P, but then I thought I'd leave that one.
Yeah, probably best. Probably best. Because there's a reasonable chance I wouldn't have spotted it as a gag. Come to think of it, nobody... You beat me to that one. Go on.
Right. I need a bit of advice.
Okay.
I'm trying to sell a house, which you may think is mad in this times, but still, there I am. I instructed an estate agent earlier this year who said, no sale, no fee. If you withdraw it from us, all you do is pay for the HIP, and that's it. So after umpteen months and nothing happening, I've instructed them that I don't want them to do anything with me anymore. They'd sent me a copy of the HIP electronically.
Yeah.
I've gone to a second estate agent and I've said, I've already got a HIP. Try to send the electronic copy to them. Because of the computer systems, they can't open it.
Right.
So they've spoken to the supplier of the HIP, who has said, we haven't been paid for this.
Right.
So you can't use it.
Yeah.
Now, I have not been billed by the estate agent that I had it with originally for the HIP, but I've told them send me the bill and I'll pay it.
Yeah.
That estate agent haven't paid the people who have supplied the HIP. Can I still use it?
Well, it's not yours yet because you've not bought it. Now you're saying I've not bought it because they've not sent me a bill for it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the first thing to do is you've got it, so you could print it up rather than try to send it electronically and supply it to the new estate agent who providing you're able to say to him, here is the hip, I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any business of his whether you've paid for it or not.
Right.
He will attempt to charge you for a new one because he's got to live in the winter, hasn't he?
Well, we've already discussed that, and they're comfortable to use this one.
Right, well, you just supply them with a copy for it. So there you are, there's the copy. There it is, there's the hip. Imprint. If you want to scan it into your computer, Mr. Estate Agent, that's your business. But there it is, I've supplied it.
Yeah.
There will then be a row, possibly, between you and the earlier estate agent as to whether you should pay him for it. And I would say fairly strongly, yes, you should.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to pay as soon as you send me a bill.
Exactly. So when he writes to you and says, hey, you're trying to use our hip, you just say, fine, send me a bill, no problem.
Yeah. Champion.
That's it.
I thought it might be as simple as that, but, you know...
I mean, you don't need to. You're under no obligation to chase them to pay them. If they've, have you yet instructed them that they're off the job?
Yeah, I instructed them before I instructed the other one, and I gave them a cut-off date.
Right.
And I went beyond the cut-off date.
Yeah. So
before I instructed the new ones.
Yes, is good enough for me. So you've instructed them that they're no longer on the job, and frankly, they will bill you when they're ready. Of course, they may even continue to try and sell your house. You never know. And if they send somebody round, I should stick with it. No, if somebody comes round and says, look, I've been sent by the Allan Beswick estate agent, you're not going to say, well, you're not coming in, are you?
Down here, yeah, because my house is up in North Manchester.
Well, what does that matter? You want to sell it, don't you?
Yeah, I know, but if they come to this house down here in North...
yes, indeed. That wouldn't be wise, no.
No.
On account... They say, well, at this price, I'm having it. But certainly, if they get in touch with you and say, look, we've got a potential buyer that wants to look at it, say fine.
OK.
We're not in a contract with them, but fine.
OK.
All right.
Wonderful.
Good on you. Have
Thank
fun.
you very much.
0161 228 2255. Gaynor in Sale. Hiya, Gaynor.
Hello, Alan.
What can we do for you?
Right, the lady that wants some pulley rope.
Waxed rope, yeah?
Yeah. I work for a company. Can I name them because I'm not insulting them?
Go on.
Right, it's called Eliza Tinsley.
OK. We'll remember that, won't it? Eliza Tinsley?
Yeah, they provide all the chain and rope for B&Q.
Oh, right.
And they are... they sell the waxed rope.
I told her that.
In hanks.
In hanks? Oh, fabulous. Well, I know what a hank is. That's fine. Yeah.
So it's not in... it's not
How
on the
long?
reel.
How much is in?
Guess what?
In a hank?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, because I just tidy it up.
Yeah, because she wants it for a washing line. And,
right.
And that, the hank might not be enough, might it?
That's what I was thinking, but if she goes into one of the big stores, the very big ones, they have got a myriad of ropes.
They have, yes, without a shadow of a doubt. There.
I'm sure she could find something that she could do the job with.
Oh,
and possibly, cheap enough to replace it another time if it needs it.
Yeah, but that, I mean, they sell it in hanks. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
By hanks, we mean a lump.
Yes, a lump with a piece of paper around.
Because you used to get hanks of wool, didn't you? That was the thing you were getting. I wonder if a hank has a specific size.
No.
No, it doesn't. So when somebody says a hank, you can't say, well, a hank's 19 foot or 3 foot or whatever.
If I was anywhere near one of my stores and I'd just finished, I would have been able to give you the amount, but off the top of my head I can't.
No. Well, that's fine. Well, excellent. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. So they do sell it, but whether they sell it in long enoughs, as it were, is yet to be seen. But waxed rope, they do sell it, and it's in hanks. Good old Hank. Tony in Ratcliffe. Hiya, Tony.
Hello, Alan. Yeah, we do sell it in lengths as well on rolls.
Hey, up. So you're one and all.
I'm another one, yeah.
So what are you, a B&Q Waller?
Yes, I am.
So there you are. They've got it. What's up with the woman? Sarah.
You'll always find it. I don't know what the one near... Where's she from?
Crumpsall.
Crumpsall. I'm not sure the one near Crumpsall. But all B&Q aisles are all marked out the same, but they're numbered differently.
All right.
But if she looks in between the door handles and the nuts, bolts, screws, nails, they're there.
Yeah.
The hanks are there and the reels are there.
Well, not only have we got the stuff for her now, we've even got directions within the store.
There you go.
So, should she turn left?
Well, actually, yeah, you always turn left when you go into a B&Q.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
You know, when you're going into the main, to any B&Q main store, you turn left to go up the aisles.
What do you mean by a main store?
Every B&Q, if you go...
I go to B&Q, Lee, and you can turn left or right.
Well, you can turn right, but normally if you're turning right, you go into the garden centre.
No. You turn right. If you, listen, don't start with me.
Yours is a dummy one.
Well,
then.
of course it's a dummy one. It's mine. But you go in the B&Q in Lee, you can go right or left because the stuff is dispersed. You're correct in that the garden centre is right down the end of the right, but no,
That's
you
right.
go in.
Right. You must have a centre opening store then.
We do.
Most of them are to the right now.
I
was. Then you turn left and everything's all the way. Because what they're doing is they're taking you on lighting. If you want lights,
yeah,
and then you want electricals, you've got to go past everything else to go and get your electricals.
I see.
You
Well,
take
all
the
I'm
right through the
look,
store.
all I'm saying is the one in Lee, you can turn left or right. That's all I'm offering.
Oh, it must be a very old one then.
Well, listen, you said none. I'm just having.
I don't know that one, Alan.
I'm having an "I told you so" moment, and it's quite comfortable for me. How are you feeling?
No, I'm not too bad. I've just come out of hospital, so.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you're feeling right then.
Well,
Good on you, Tony.
I'm just going back. But,
What's been up with you?
I've had an aneurysm.
An aneurysm?
Yeah.
Blimey. They're not easy to deal with, them, are they?
No.
What did you think? I mean, it doesn't apply to you yet, I hope, but did you hear just the other day that in the past they've dealt with clots in the heart with clot-busting drugs, and the risk of that is a bit of the clot gets out and gives you a stroke.
That's right, yeah.
And now they're going to do it with open heart, with keyhole surgery.
Yeah.
Instead, because that's better. Surgery's better than drugs, they seem to be saying.
Well, apparently so. It's a frightening experience, Alan.
It's got to be, hasn't it?
It's a frightening experience.
An aneurysm is unlike that. I mean, that's effectively an heart attack, isn't it?
Well, in actual fact, what it is, it was my main aorta from my
Blimey,
groin up to my heart.
Yeah.
Instead of being 2 centimetres thick, it was 18 places.
Crikey.
So, I mean, I saw 4 feet and 2 ropes hanging over the side. If you understand what I mean.
I do.
That's how close I was, so I've been very lucky.
Crumbs. And what did they do? What was the treatment?
Well, what they do is they've given me a boiler suit front.
Yeah.
And they open me up, and what they do, they cut it open, and they case it, and then stitch it back up. Blimey. They case it to the right length, like a corn inside. So it's a frightening experience, very frightening.
I'll bet. I bet you think every day is valuable now, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Even if you don't know anything about B&Q.
That's right. I know more things about B&Q because I'm a DIY advisor.
Are you indeed? Well,
and with the wax rope, tell her to burn the ends.
Oh,
The wax runs onto it and it seals it.
Absolutely. I should have said, but thank you very much. Good on you, Tony.
You're welcome. Thanks very much, Alan. Bye-bye.
I trained for years to do this. 0161 228 2255. Give him enough rope, he'll hang himself.
Your Sunday morning Lion with Mike Shaft.
Father John, round Manchester, what are you finding now? Is there a growth in religion?
In parts of South Manchester, and what I see is that people are asking questions, especially young people who are kind of a little bit fed up with the party lifestyle, which is so prevalent.
Mike Shaft.
How are we seeing this new form of religion?
You just have to walk down the streets of Manchester, for example, and see bars like the Font, a sandwich shop called Feeding the 5,000.
Manchester's faith, spirit, and life's difficult questions with Mike Shaft.
Let's try and unpack that.
Sunday morning from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Jeff in Eton Mersey. Hiya, Jeff.
Alan.
We've only got a minute or so,
Yeah.
so just give me the headline.
Just 2 things.
Go on.
Everything that's been said is correct, but there are independent hardware stores as well that sell
Of
these
course
cans.
there are. Of course
You're
there are.
getting enough publicity.
They do.
But the other thing is, you keep saying this lady wants it as a washing line.
Yeah.
She doesn't want it as a washing line. It's for her rack rope, if you remember those. You know, the rack with the 4 laths.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've got one of them and all. The old... What were they called? They had a name, didn't they?
Rack rope.
No, that was... They had a more prosaic name than that, like a daisy or a Mabel or something.
Ah, you got me on that one.
Oh, well,
But
there
they
you
have
go.
the 4 wooden laths on it and the cast iron ends on it.
That's it, yeah. I had one for
She
years.
wants it for. That's what she said she wants it for, a rack rope. Right?
Well, that'll do it as well. That'll be fine. It's not a washing line, but you know what I mean.
That's called a sash cord.
A sash cord. I know, I said that because it comes from sash windows.
Yeah. It's a rack rope, but it's a sash cord. It comes in 10-metre hanks, as that gentleman said.
Well, so someone was on about a meet. No, the gentleman said they have it on a roll.
Oh, well, you can get it off a roll as well. But
Yeah, because then you get as
10
much...
metres, because 10 metres is exactly the right length for a rack.
You don't know how high her ceiling is.
Well, it's where you put your cleat to as well.
Well, I know it's where you put your cleat to, but if she's got a 40-foot high ceiling, she's going to have a ladder.
Yeah.
Good on you, Jeff.
Standard length is 10 metres.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. So there you are. If it's for a rack, and we think it is, what are they called, them rack? Daisy Mary or Mabel Ecclethwaite or... Who knows? Frankly, who cares? But they do. They have a name. I can't remember now.
Get a real doctor's advice on your sex life. Dirty Thursdays, tonight from 10 with me, Sam Walker.
A real doctor's advice. That's awfully reassuring, isn't it? Rather than an imaginary doctor. But what is the doctor a doctor of? Divinity? You're not going to get a lot with that, are you? 0161 228 2255.
5.1 FM, DAB Digital Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, violent crimes going down across Greater Manchester and sex education for kids as young as 5 in our schools.
And Jason Crump will be back at Bellevue.
Well, this afternoon is going to be wet and windy with top temperatures of 14 Celsius.
And those winds affecting the M62 at Rishworth Moor, as well as a fuel spillage on the exit slip road of the junction 22 at Rishworth Moor.
Good afternoon, I'm Anna Dawson. Violent crime across Greater Manchester is going down, according to crime figures released today. The national quarterly figures from the Home Office aren't broken down region by region, but GMP's Assistant Chief Constable Dave Thompson says he's pleased with what he's learned.
Our violent crime's fallen. We're obviously sort of pleased around that because that's an area that concerns the public, and obviously the public are concerned about things like knife crime as well, and that's an area that's remained fairly constant in terms of it's not an area that's going up at all in Greater Manchester, and those more serious type offences remain fairly sort of constant, but actually the sort of general trend around violence is going down.
And GMP is not one of the 17 forces which have been under recording the most serious violent crimes, including murder, manslaughter and attempted murder. A correction in the way such crimes are recorded has led to a national leap of 22% compared to the same period last year. A woman from Manchester is being questioned over alleged terror offences. The 40-year-old from Longsight was arrested on Friday. It's after police searched houses in Manchester and Holland. A further 4 people have been arrested in connection with the murder of a Liverpool teenager, Joseph Lappin. Joseph, who was an army cadet, was stabbed outside a youth club in Everton on Monday. A 16-year-old who was arrested yesterday is still in custody. Lessons on sex and relationships are to become compulsory for all primary and secondary schools in England. The lessons will start at aged 5 with what the government calls age-appropriate education, as the Schools Minister Jim Knight explains.
I want to be really clear. We are not suggesting that 5 and 6-year-olds should be taught sex. What we're saying is that we need to improve, in particular, the relationship education, improve the moral framework and moral understanding around which we then talk about sex later on in a child's education.
3 men have been charged in connection with the death of a man at Forest Bank Prison in Salford. 35-year-old Ryan Beaver died from serious head injuries in September. James Fraser, who's now Alt Course Prison, Andrew Pilkington, who's in Liverpool Prison, and Andrew Whittle, who's in Risley, have been charged with manslaughter and will appear before Salford magistrates tomorrow. A Tameside man accused of carrying a deadly key fob gun has appeared in court. 25-year-old Michael Smith was arrested in Duckinfield earlier this month for allegedly having a silver key fob which can fire bullets. He appeared at Tameside magistrates today, also accused of possessing CS gas and Class A drugs with intent to supply. He'll appear in court again in December. Drivers no longer have to worry about fixed roadside speed cameras in Swindon. The council there has become the first in Britain to stop funding the detectors. It's going to spend the money on other types of road safety schemes instead. Well, we've been asking people in Manchester whether they think getting rid of speed cameras is a good idea.
I don't think speed cameras are fair, to be honest with you. I think the police would be a bit a fairer option. Maybe it would cost less money as well.
To be honest, I don't drive anyway, so I catch the public transport.
Yeah, I think there's too many speed cameras. I think everywhere you go there's speed cameras. Drive you mad when you've got a sat-nav on. Speed camera. Just a waste of money.
And it's being claimed Oldham MP and Immigration Minister Phil Woolas has been pulled from appearing on BBC One's Question Time tonight. Mr Woolas had been due to appear on the political discussion show. The Home Office denied the move was due to recent comments made on immigration.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Well, Speedway's former world champion Jason Crump has told BBC Radio Manchester that he hasn't ridden for Bellevue for the last time. The Australian has announced that he won't be returning to Kirkmanshume Lane next season. However, he intends to honour the second year of a 2-year contract. Charlie Hodgson gets a chance to re-establish himself in the Sale number 10 shirt when he starts tomorrow's EDF Cup match against Bath. Prop Rob O'Donnell makes his debut, whilst new signing Dave Ward starts on the bench. We'll have coverage in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. In Rugby League, Warrington captain Adrian Morley has signed a 1-year contract extension at the club. Morley's original 3-year deal was due to finish at the end of 2009. Meanwhile, homegrown Wolves duo Chris Riley and Lee Mitchell have both agreed new 3-year contracts. And the group stages of the UEFA Cup begin this evening with Aston Villa, Portsmouth and Tottenham all in action. With 5 teams in the group, Manchester City have the game off this week. FC Twente host Racing Santander. FC Schalke are at home to Paris Saint-Germain.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, this afternoon is pretty disappointing. It's cloudy and it's wet. We've got outbreaks of rain which are widespread, and that rain is going to be persistent and heavy at times. Coupled with that, we've got a strong south or southwesterly wind that at times locally is going to be gale force. Top temperatures today, 14 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Hey, you'll read this in your paper tomorrow and will immediately think, why did I bother? But there you are. The Heterodontosaurus, as opposed presumably to the gay Dontosaurus. Anyway, the Heterodontosaurus, which is a dinosaur that lived and presumably died, well, hopefully died, we don't want anything following his own. The Heterodontosaurus, which died 190 million years ago, was turning vegetarian. I told you wouldn't be interested. I'm sorry. I did break... I led you in gently and said, yeah, one of the smallest dinosaur skulls ever discovered belonged to a creature that was in the process of turning vegetarian, according to the scientists. So there you are, Peter in Hyde.
Jamie Oliver will be interested in that, won't he?
He will indeed. He'll be following that around with a spanner, dear God.
What's that interest from 18 million years ago? I'm worried about today.
I'm quite worried about today as well. Even more worried now you're on. Go on, what do you want?
I've just found one across the back garden now. Right,
was it chasing a cabbage?
Yes. Yeah.
Go on.
Right, Alan. I've just been shopping in Ardmere, my wife.
Yeah.
Now, I used to work for the Highways many, many years ago, so I do know a little about what I'm talking about. There's no signs, no dollies, or nothing warning you that there's white lining in this area. All they've got is a wagon parked up with its yellow lights on, and they're dodging out of traffic. I nearly hit one. I'm sorry I didn't, because then I could have had a case with the council. Right, now, I phoned the council, I got onto the executive of the council, he doesn't want nothing to do with it. So I phoned the ombudsman for the council, they don't want nothing to do with it. So it seems to me that the council are laws under their own rules. Now, health and safety, as far as I'm concerned, is the law of the land. Nobody has one for one and one for the other. But they're not interested, Alan. They just don't want to know it. And these people are dodging about buses and doing the Ridley lines and lines and this and lines that. One walked across a major country into Asda and put the white lines there. I nearly hit one. It's terrible. There's no signs or nothing in the white line, and the council's letting them doing it. And I've been on to the husbandman. What is the law of this, Alan?
Well, I don't know what the law is. First of all, the Ombudsman is the wrong person for such an immediate response. The Ombudsman, the local, I assume you mean the local authority Ombudsman.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the number wrong. It could
No,
be.
don't bother.
Okay, I'm sorry,
don't bother telling me the
Yeah,
number.
yeah.
The Ombudsman's job is to look at decisions that have been made by the council, have been examined by the council, and have then you've not got satisfaction with them, and they can examine the council's decision-making process.
So, I'm sorry.
So they're not the one for that immediate
Yeah.
response.
But what I'm trying to say, if you was doing a cutting outside your house,
Yeah.
and you didn't have no signs or anything like that, the council would be on you like a ton of bricks.
I don't know, they might.
Well, they may be, okay,
Yeah.
right. But what I'm trying to say, when you phone the executive of the council at the offices, he don't know how to do with it, and I explained to him.
When you say he didn't want anything to do with it, he didn't say that. I don't want anything to do with it.
Well, what he done, Alan?
His answer would have been more specific. What did he say?
Well, it wasn't actually. He just said, "Well, here's the number of the ombudsman what deals with the councils."
No.
Oh, yes, he did, honestly.
That was it. That was what he said.
Honestly, Alan, it says the number to ring and see what they can do.
Whoa. Remember, the way I hear the conversation at the moment, Peter in Hyde rings the chief executive of the council and says...
No, first of all, Alan, I rung the council and asked them to put me through to the health and safety.
Right. So you went through to health and safety?
Yes, I rung this number.
Now, what did they say?
They said, I explained to them, and they said, I'll give you a number to ring. It's the ombudsman for the council. So I thought, well... Who's the one, what's what? I said, so when I got on to the husbandman, I said, I've reported it to you, and I've reported to the council. Nobody wants to know. So we said, well, can I have your name and address? And I'll send you the form to fill in.
Well, that's what he would do.
Well, I agree with that. Yes,
because you were making a complaint about the council.
Yes.
I don't understand. I mean, it won't have been a short conversation, that's for sure. I don't understand... The health and safety people said, well, if you don't like our decision, get on to the ombudsman.
Honestly, well, more or less...
Wait for me a sec.
Okay.
What I've not yet got from you is, what did they say first of all? Here you are telling them that somebody working on the highway has not got proper signage.
That is correct.
Yeah. So what did they say to that?
He said to me, the word he said, well, really, he said, it's not to do with us.
Right, that's what he said.
Right. He said... You'd have to get onto the ombudsman, which I did do. Now, they don't want that to do with it.
No.
So I explained to them that I've been onto the health and safety of the town hall.
Have you tried, you see, I don't know who it is that is doing the work. I don't mean the firm. I mean, I don't know who's commissioned it.
Yeah, that's why I don't know, Alan.
I'm not altogether certain that it will have been the local authority. It might have been the highways agency.
Well, it could have been.
Have you been on to them?
No, I've not.
That might be your next port of call.
Yeah, but what I'm concerned about, if I would have hit somebody, if I'd have hit them, the police would have been on to me, most of us for undue care and attention. When these people...
Well, that would depend on the circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. But these people can just willy-nilly do what they want the council, I can see, without putting appropriate signs out.
Well, again, let me offer you a daft suggestion.
Okay, Alan.
Had you rung the doctor and said, look, this is important to you because this man might get run over and then he'll be injured. So it's your responsibility. He'll say no. If he does get run over, I'll come out to him. So you need to report it to the people who have responsibility for dealing with it.
Right, I understand that.
Now, if you get on to the health and safety of the local authority, they may well say, as they did, well, it's not our job.
Yeah.
And then when you've said, well, that's not good enough, they've said, well, you know, that's the council's answer. If you don't like the council's answer, report us to the ombudsman.
That's correct. More or less he said to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they started by saying it's not our job. My next question would have been, well, whose job is it then?
And if I was not frustrated, I didn't.
Well, okay, but that's what I'm saying. That would have been the best question to follow up with. Now, my guess is that the place to start is the highways agency.
Well, I should know it myself now you've explained it to me.
Okay, well, let's try that then. You give them a ring, and if they say to you, no, it's the council...
I'll come back to you.
Okay. I'll look forward to that.
And I'm going to look for that dinosaur.
You have a look. Get after it. You never know. It might knock one of them blokes over.
I put a cabbage out for it. Might come back.
Have a good day. Cheers. Big Allan in Manchester. We were talking just briefly about Joey Barton earlier, and he's in the news, of course. Joey Barton should not play football again, says Big Allan in Manchester. We'll get to the stage if we only let nuns play football because everybody else is too butch and... Actually, I've met a few nuns. Never mind, no, but everybody else is too grumpy to play, too bad-tempered. Why shouldn't he play? It's only kicking and running. Alan, you're mixing up two songs. This is Mother's Little Helper. The one you quote, which is about drugs, is Mother's Little Helper. You did quote a line, Here It Comes, from 19th Nervous Breakdown, which is an entirely different song. That's Lee in Liverpool. What's a Liverpool person doing knowing about Rolling Stones songs? And, we've done that about the security banners. I'm not doing that again. Well, I've done it once. Barry in Middleton. Hiya, Barry.
Hi, Alan. You all right?
I'm all right, yeah.
I just want to briefly touch on two subjects. I know you're a busy man. First one, Joey Barton.
Yes?
He flatters himself when he says in the paper this morning.
Hang on, I lost you then.
He flatters himself when he says everybody wants him dead.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I can speak for everybody. I don't give him a thought. He's just a thug. It's as simple as that. And
Okay.
whether he knows that or not, it's just an old story about before we heard it, Oscar Wilde languishing in Reading jail.
Yeah, I know about Reading Jail and Oscar, yes.
And one of his friends came in and Oscar sat with a mailbag on his knee and a needle and cotton in his hands. And his friend said, "Hello, Oscar, sewing?" And Oscar said, "No, I'm reaping." And
Very good. Are you
And
sowing?
that-
No, I am reaping. Very
that's
good indeed.
what Joey Barton will have to live with for the rest of his life.
But somebody said earlier via a text that he should never play professional football again. Do you agree?
Well, I don't agree with that, no.
No. You think he should be allowed to carry
He'll come unstuck again. I guarantee he will come unstuck again. And I hope they just punish him more severely to deprive a man of his livelihood. If anybody's foolish enough to employ him, that's up to them, isn't it?
All right, well, that's fair enough.
So that's all I've got to say on Joey
Okay,
Barton.
yeah, that's fine. And you said there were two things.
The other one is Mike Todd. I don't know whether you want to talk about it.
I don't mind. He's dead. He can't sue
He
me.
is dead. He can't sue us. I just think there's been a lot of hypocrisy over it.
In what way?
I've never heard a coroner's verdict like that in my life.
Well,
Because, in my opinion, he was described as a copper's copper.
Yes.
But I wasn't paying his wage to be a copper's copper. I was paying his wage, helping to pay his wage, to be a people's copper. That's what I was paying his wage
Okay.
for. He did the coppers a big favour when I don't know how many of them got paid overtime to go to Manchester Cathedral and hypocritically honour a liar, a cheat, and a thief. Because that's what Mike Todd was. And I can sum that up. He was a liar because he lied to his wife.
Yeah.
He was a thief because he stole other men's wives.
Okay.
And he was a hypocrite and a liar because he didn't just lie to his wife. I'm not a Christian, you know that, Alan. I've spoke to you before.
Okay.
He lied not just to his wife, but to his God when he took the marriage vows. I mean, I'm not bothered about it.
Well, all right.
Surely Christians should be.
Let's try and dismantle what you say. The thief bit, I mean, you know, call him what you like, as I say, he's dead. The thief bit, I reject that just on plain language, on the basis that he didn't take other men's wives, because that implies that they are not able to make decisions for themselves.
Right.
So he didn't steal them. A husband, or in that matter, a wife, do not own their spouse. They are not the property of the spouse. So he could not steal him. He could not steal a woman from her husband because a woman is a sentient being who makes her own decisions. Now, you can argue...
And not a chattel.
And not a chattel. So he didn't steal, so he wasn't a thief.
Point taken.
Okay.
Point taken.
Okay. A liar? Well, who amongst us is not? Who amongst us is not? And the idea that... And this is just a semantic game, really, which cheapens your conversation, and I don't want to do that, but to say that by being a copper's copper he wasn't inevitably being a policeman's copper, being a people's copper, I think you can actually do both and do them well, and there are those people, both civilians and police people, who say the best service you can give to the public as a police officer is to be a copper's copper. Because
I can't never agree with that, Alan. In all the platitudes. And
I'm not bothered about platitudes. I mean,
nobody ever said he was a people's copper. All I ever heard was he was a copper's copper.
Well, yes, but if by giving the encouragement to police officers to behave as police officers, which is their job, they're not...
While keeping the trousers pulled up,
well, look, we're putting that to one side. What he did in his personal life... I frankly have very little interest in. Little.
Hang on, Alan.
Providing
there's an inquiry yet to go on.
Indeed.
Find out.
And we will make judgments when we hear what the outcome of that inquiry is.
But I'll bet your pint is completely exonerated, as he was at the coroner's.
Well, let's wait and see. let's wait and see.
Of course we will, yeah.
And I've got to come back now. I hate doing this, but I've got to come back to what you just said, and that is he was exonerated at the coroner's inquest. He wasn't exonerated because he wasn't accused of anything. The coroner's inquest is a process by which we, the state, we, the people, decide, OK, we delegate that to a coroner, decide what verdict to give to the death. There's no guilt involved.
No, I take your point, Alan.
Okay, so...
my point of view was worded wrongly.
I know, but what we're discussing now, because of the nature of the way the conversation, we're actually discussing semantics. You say you can either be a copper's copper or a people's copper. And I'm saying, by being a copper's copper, you actually can give much better service to the public than by not being a copper's copper.
I don't agree with you, Alan.
One of the things Michael Todd was very proud of was the fact that if he saw a crime taking place, even as a chief constable, he stopped the car, got out and arrested the people like a copper would. And that got him the respect of his fellow officers because he was a copper's copper. He didn't drive on by and report it to the police. He carried on being... I mean, I've had him sat opposite me. I have a slight advantage over you, but I've had
I know
him
you do, Alan.
sat in here. And he says, the first thing I am is a constable. The chief is just my rank, what I am.
No, I disagree. The first thing he was a philanderer, and he told lies. I can't see any further than that, Alan. Honestly, I can't. The man was an out-and-out philanderer, and he told lies. And if he tells lies in whatever aspect of his life, how do we know what lies he's telling?
Well,
in his
okay,
job?
I accept all those questions. Was John F. Kennedy a good president?
While he was alive, yeah, he could have...
You can't be a good president when you're dead.
No, he could have thrown us into the Third World War.
But he didn't, despite the fact that he was a dirty little pig and a complete and utter liar.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah.
He was up to no good. He'd do a split glossia on a warm day. But nonetheless, there he was. Damn good president. Winston Churchill, he never lied to anybody, did he? He lied all the time.
Not many, yeah.
He lied all the time. Every time he spoke to a microphone, he lied. We will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them on the landing grounds. No, we won't. We won't. I'll be in the basement hiding. Everybody else will do the fighting. Was he a good prime minister? People say yes, but he was an out-and-out liar.
Yeah,
and a drunk.
Yeah, so you're saying that Mike Todd, you're putting Mike Todd on a level with Churchill and
No, I'm saying being a liar doesn't make you bad at your job. In fact...
Oh, it does, Alan. It must do. I'm talking about lying.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
This guy had a memorial service in the highest church in Manchester.
Well, first of all...
And why the roof didn't fall in if there was a God.
Barry, he didn't organise the memorial service.
No, it was his hypocritical.
I've no problem with the hypocrisy of the system, Barry, but if you're saying he's a liar, and one of the things you cite is something that happened a month after he died, you're relying on pretty feeble evidence. Anyway, Barry,
what he did.
We shall say good on you, mate.
As always, I've enjoyed talking to you.
That's all we can ask for. Barry says, because he was a liar, and a couple of other things too, because he was a liar, Michael Todd was a bad chief constable. What do you say? It's just gone 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines with Anna Dawson.
A 40-year-old woman from Manchester is being questioned on suspicion of terror offences. She was arrested in Longsight on Friday after officers searched addresses in Manchester and Holland. Greater Manchester Police is not one of 17 forces who've been under-recording the number of the most serious violent crimes in their area. The Home Office has released the figures this morning. And the former guitarist with legendary Manchester band The Smiths is set to lecture students on the music industry. Johnny Marr will give a lecture as visiting professor of music at Salford University in November. Manchester's weather windy today with some rain around, highs of 14 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
We've got the Centenary Bridge in Salford stuck open at the moment. That incident is causing queuing traffic on the A576 Centenary Way between Salford and Trafford Park in both directions between Guinness Road and Lancrow Way. Also the M60 clockwise, it's not causing too many problems. Traffic's coping well at the moment, but just to be aware of the entry slip road closed due to emergency repair work at Junction 2 Tudor Roscoe's roundabout. We have strong winds affecting the road of the M62 over the Pennines between Manchester and Yorkshire, 21 at Murrow through to Junction 22 at Rishworth Moor, where there's a 50-mile-an-hour matrix speed limit there. And off the exit slip road on the Junction 22 westbound on the M62, two separate incidents involving a fuel spillage and a broken-down lorry, and that's being gritted on the road at the moment. If you want to go to the website, bbc.co.uk/Manchester and click on travel, but if you want to update us, call in 0161 244 4951. I'm Matthew Cameron.
BBC Radio Manchester.
With 2020 traffic through until midnight.
BBC Radio Manchester.
We had Ken on earlier wondering about whether he could use the hip he had done. And thank you for all the jokes about hip replacement. They weren't funny, but thank you for trying. Terrible. Anyway, the hip he had done for selling his house by one estate agent, he was making the point, can I use it with the next estate agent? And Kevin says, don't waste your money on an old hip. It's probably out of date by now. Have a new one done. Well, that is a point to bear in mind, but given that he's been selling the house for a short time, I suspect it's not the case, but it is definitely a point to bear in mind. We're going to talk to Noel in a moment in Oldham. Before then, Pete says, read the sex education in primary schools news story. The officer from our local authority came to give a talk to my son's primary school and stated that kids were never too young to learn. Teaching children sex education at the age of 7 or 8 is about as relevant as teaching them how to drive. And I hope that when they get to 16 they won't crash. It's bonkers. I don't think teenagers get pregnant because they don't know what goes on and what goes where. Well, you might be right there. But they're not just teaching sex, are they? They're teaching about sex and relationships and all the rest of it. Anyway, there you are. So that's what Pete says. The idea of sex education for primary school pupils is crazy, says Pete. Noel in Oldham. Hiya, Noel.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well.
Very good. This is just an inquiry, really, of some of your listeners. About 18 months ago, my dentist, who I'd been with for more than 25 years, he went private. So I and a lot of my close family, who had also signed on with him, had to find various other dentists that would take us on the National Health.
Yes.
So, on the National Health, there's a list of prices for your scale and polish is £17 approximately. And then it jumps up to a next thing for a soft filling or a filling or whatever, to £43. Now, in the 18 months that I've been with another dentist, I've never actually been allowed to just have a scale and polish. And all of my immediate family have had the same thing. They've never gone in and paid just the basic fee. They've, oh, there's a little hole over here. Oh, there's a soft filling here. Oh, this and that. And it's just, I'm just wondering if every other person who's gone to a National Health Dentist has found that they never actually get away with paying the basic charge. Do you understand what I mean?
I do understand what you mean. I'll make a couple of comments. I go to my dentist. We go to the same dentist. The dentist has changed, but the practice has remained the same for a few years now. And I'm rather silly and go every 6 months or so.
Correct.
There was a report out just recently by somebody within the National Health Service, and I've forgotten who, saying that private National Health dentists are ripping us all off, in
Correct.
that they get us to go back every 6 months or 12 months, when in fact 2 years is ample.
Well, I always went to my own previous dentist. I always went every 6 months regularly.
Yes. And as I do, and with a private dentist, it costs quite a lot of money. I've been a few times and get no treatment, and I've even gone sometimes. I've got a tooth now that's got a very slight chip in it, and he says it's fine, just leave it.
Correct.
There's no sense faffing about with it, just leave it. Whether a National Health dentist would say the same thing, because he or she doesn't get the same opportunity, as it were,
They
to make
seem
money.
to always want to go that step further, you see. They charge you that extra thing.
Well, maybe because they are required under contract to tell you what treatment you require. I mean, first of all, it's not compulsory, is it?
Well, it's happened to me when I went for one particular scale and polish, and I just assumed I was paying for that. I had £20, and she said, "Oh, there's a little fill in there you could do with that." Well, I said, "I've only brought £20." I said, "Leave the £20," she says, "and we'll make an appointment with you for the next time and have it done."
But you could equally have said, "No, it's all right, I'm coming back in 6 months," and just ask, will it take 6 months?
Yes, I suppose.
Will it stand 6 months? Yeah, I mean, that's the way. We have a responsibility to ourselves, don't we? We don't have to do what the medicos say.
But you tend to take their advice, don't you, because you're trying to prevent things, aren't you?
Well, if he says a little nick there that needs doing, and you say, "Well, I'll be back in 6 months, will it need doing then? Does it need doing before then?"
But it's just happened to every one of my immediate family. I'm very suspicious, I don't know. To me, they just get like leeches, easy money coming in here, right? And sometimes my granddaughter's had some tremendous treatment when she just thought she was going for a checkup. She's come away owing them £200. But I mean, that's hearsay, I suppose, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much.
All right, mate. Good
Okay.
on you. Well, Noel says every time he goes to his NHS dentist, and he goes every 6 months for a clean and polish, he ends up having to pay for something else. Is that common practice? I've no idea. Ian says the new full-body scanners at airports that allow security guards to see through clothing don't show a skeleton, they show a naked body. I think this puts them in a different light. Ian, I think you're right. It does put them in a different light. I bet they have no shortage of recruits, but I wouldn't fancy the job. There's some right ugly people go through. There are some right ugly people go through. If they're ugly above the neck, you're not going to look further, are you? Dear God. So what? They can see your wedding tackle and all that. Oh, I'm not smuggling anything in there. Peter in Northwich, hiya.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
It'll be two things now. I'll deal with the dentist because...
Please do.
I had a private dentist, where I was on Denplan. And
yeah.
I used to go every 6 months because I smoke and drink a lot of tea and have my teeth cleaned twice a year. But now I'm National Health. Now, I've tried to have my teeth scaled and polished, on National Health.
Yeah.
Which should be about £18, I think. But they always try and steer me towards the hygienist, and that is £35 for 15 minutes.
Well, yeah. I suppose they would direct you to the hygienist because, frankly, you see, the National Health Service says to dentists, this is what you can do, and this is what you can't do. And so I suppose they are saying, well, if you come in for a scale and polish, I'll have to charge you because the National Health won't pay for a scale and polish every 6 months. It's deemed unnecessary, so they won't pay for it. However, if you have a little bit of a filling that needs doing, then I can do that. And when I do the filling, I can do the scale and polish as part of that process, and therefore you get the treatment. It might be that.
Yeah,
because otherwise they'd have to say...
the rules must have changed because I used to... Before I had to go private with my previous dentists, because they all went private, like you said yours have.
The one I use has always been private, but go on.
Oh, right, yeah. But you would normally always be able to get a scale and polish every 6 months on the NHS. But,
well, as I say, they may have changed the rules because there was a report out just recently saying that people have no need to go to the dentist other than if they break a tooth or something, a filling or whatever, but they have no need of 6 monthly checkups. Indeed, this report said once every 2 years is ample.
I mean,
I'm not confident with that, but that's what it said.
No, I think whoever said that's an idiot. You do need to go every 6 months because your teeth are part of your health, and if there's anything wrong with your teeth, it affects your whole general well-being.
Well, yes, but what they were saying, what this report appeared to say and very definitely imply, was other than trauma, there's not much that can happen to your tooth.
Yeah, but when you've got something wrong with your teeth, you must... If you've got...
Well, yes, but if you've got something wrong, you'd go. If you get toothache or you break it or whatever, you'd go. That's something immediate. But if there's no pain, no anything else, and you clean them regularly, you...
Yeah, but I'll keep interrupting, but by going every 6 months, it's preventative, really.
Well, yes, but that's the point. The NHS is not into preventative. It doesn't do preventative. It's too expensive. That's why they made them all... turn them all into bean counters.
I mean, it's ended up a shambles as far as NHS is concerned with the dentist, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people don't realise, unless you're in that group, you know, pregnant women and children and all the rest of it, they get it for absolute free.
Yeah.
The difference between NHS and many private practices, certainly the former NHS that have gone private, the difference between the two is not that great.
No, I think it was 20% the cost, wasn't it?
It was something like that, yeah.
You still pay 80% of the cost anyway.
So you might think, what's the fuss about? But there you are, that 20% can make a big difference.
Yeah.
You said there were two things, Peter.
Yeah, the other thing, you know when that guy was on about Mike Todd?
Yes.
Well, I've been in the army, I was in the household cavalry, and you was in the army in the late 60s as well, wasn't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just something I've thought about. When you join the army, and I don't know, is it the same when you join the police? You have to swear an oath of allegiance to the Queen, and you normally swear it on the Holy Bible. If you refuse to do that, say a chief constable refused to do that, would he still then be able to be chief constable? Because someone told me that to be an officer in the British Army, I don't know about a private or a trooper, I was a trooper, but to be an officer, if you said you didn't believe in God, you couldn't be an officer.
Well, I don't know whether that's the case or not. And if it was the case, I don't know whether it remains the case.
Yeah.
You do have to swear allegiance to the Crown, which means the Queen.
The Queen, yeah.
But then if you were a serving soldier who didn't support the Crown, given that the Crown is the head of the nation and the embodiment of the nation, you couldn't support the nation. And if you don't support the nation, we don't want you in the army, frankly. So certainly you swear allegiance to the Crown, to the country.
The Queen, you've got to do that.
Well, indeed. But you don't have to do it on the Bible. You can do it, even in my day, you could do it on the religious document of your choice.
Oh, right.
And rather like giving testimony in court, I suspect, but don't know, that you can also affirm, as they say. So you swear an oath. I don't recall swearing an oath when I joined on any religious document. Now I think of it, I think I just swore an oath.
When I joined in '65, it was definitely on a Bible.
On a Bible?
Yeah.
Okay, well, others will no doubt
I was
remember
just wondering if
equally well. Well, a chief constable must swear allegiance to the Crown, because a constable of all ranks is actually a constable of Her Majesty.
Yeah.
They are Her Majesty's constables. They're not employed by the local authority, if you like. They're not employed by the government. They're employed, in specific, they're employed by Her Majesty.
By the Queen.
They are.
Yeah.
And it's rather like when you're done for a breach of the peace. You're actually done for a breach of Her Majesty's peace.
Yeah.
That's the offence. You're not breaking the peace of your neighbours.
Yeah.
When you make a row in the street, the offence is a breach of Her Majesty's peace.
And I was just, going back, I was just wondering if, say, you still had to do it on the Bible, we'll say, or if you refused to do that, could you, say, still be chief constable? I don't know. Would it affect you getting promotion, or...?
Well, you wouldn't get in the police.
You won't get in the police.
If you are not prepared to swear allegiance to Her Majesty, you wouldn't become a copper.
Yeah, but
because they wouldn't have you in.
But what about the Bible part as well?
I don't know about the Bible. In these modern times, it is almost certainly, if it's a religious document, it's a religious document of your faith.
Of your own
Because if you think about it, if they made you, I don't know your faith, but if you were...
I'm a Christian.
Okay, well, if you were a Christian and they got you to swear on the Quran, it wouldn't mean anything to you because it's just a book. If you were a Muslim and they got you to swear on the Bible, it wouldn't mean anything to you because it's just a book. So it has to be the religious document of your choice, as it were, of your faith.
Yeah, I was just wondering if some people swear, say, on the Bible and pretend to be a Christian just to further their career. I was just wondering if...
Oh, I think there's a bit of that goes on in all walks of life.
Well,
I think there's one or two bishops guilty of that.
It's just that guy was calling, Mark Todd was saying he was a liar and so on, wasn't he? But, it was just something I thought about anyway. I don't know whether any other listeners have got any thoughts about that.
We shall see. We'll certainly find out. There'll be serving officers listening right now.
Yeah.
How do you swear oath of allegiance to the force, as it were, and therefore to Her Majesty? Let's find that out. And can you swear allegiance on the religious document of your choice, or for that matter, on no document? You'll remember that when an MP is first elected, he or she has to swear allegiance to the Crown in the House of Commons. And they
when you keep saying the Crown, that is to the Queen, isn't it?
Well, they say the Crown because, of course, you're swearing allegiance to the office, and it might not be the Queen. The Queen will eventually die, and her descendant will take over, almost certainly male. So you'll then be swearing allegiance to the King.
Yeah.
But you swear allegiance to the Crown. The Crown is the embodiment of the nation. The Crown is a shorthand term for the monarch.
For the monarch.
So you're swearing allegiance to the Crown.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right, the Crown being one of the offices, or one of the symbols of Office of State.
Okay, Alan, yeah.
All right, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good one. The name I was looking for, that thing that you hang your knickers off when they're drying, the one with the 4 wooden spars, is a kitchen maid. So we thank Keith for that, who's obviously elderly, that he knows that. 0161 228 2255, about dentist, NHS or otherwise. Paul in Gorton, only yesterday in Droylsden. I've just paid £16.50 for a scale and polish on the National Health, so you can go away. You're not dragged kicking and screaming to another 40 quid's worth. And Debbie says, we got married on Saturday, and we've now started to notify the relevant authorities about my change of surname. The driving licence was easily resolved at no cost. The passport requires a completely new application at a cost of 72 quid just to change a name. The remaining 8 years on the previous passport are wasted. Any views about how this could be justified? Well, I can't justify it, but I didn't think when you change your name that you waste the 8 years. I think those 8 years are kept within it and they extend it for 2 or whatever, but I don't think the 8 years get wasted, but that might be your interpretation of it, or it might be, not for the first time, I'm completely and utterly wrong. Just gone 20 to 2, BBC Radio Manchester headlines. Rebecca Crabtree.
A 40-year-old woman from Manchester is being questioned on suspicion of terrorism offences. She was arrested in Longsight on Friday after officers searched addresses in Manchester and Holland. Greater Manchester Police is not one of the 17 forces who've been under-recording the number of most serious violent crimes. The Home Office has released the figures this morning. And 3 men have been charged in connection with the death of a man at Forest Bank Prison in Salford. 35-year-old Ryan Beaver died from serious head injuries in September. Manchester's weather, windy today with some rain in parts. Your high, 14 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Some good news first of all in Salford, the Centenary Way, the bridge there has now been cleared and the bridge is down, which means all the traffic back to normal between Guinness Road and Lancrow Way. Strong winds affecting quite a lot of the areas in Manchester, and particularly if you're heading between Manchester and Yorkshire over the M62, 21 at Milne Road, through to 22 at Rishworth Moor and over Saddleworth. Matrix has been set to 50 miles per hour there. And if you're travelling perhaps into Manchester, westbound on the M62, we've got a fuel spillage on the exit Slit Road at junction 22 Rishworth Moor. As well as that, a broken down lorry ongoing in the same area, just 1 lane down of the 2 lanes on the exit Slit Road at junction 22. And finally, the M60 clockwise in Manchester at junction 2 Cheadle Roscoe's roundabout. Emergency repair works there with 1 lane down also on the entry Slit Road, but traffic seems to be coping well in the area. If you want to update us, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Matthew Cameron.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Steve Wyatt.
Hello, good afternoon. We start with Speedway, and the former world champion Jason Crump has told BBC Radio Manchester he hasn't ridden for Bellevue for the final time. The Australian's announced he won't be returning to Kirkmanshume Lane next season. However, he intends to honour the second year of a 2-year contract.
If anybody ever thinks that my ambition at Bellevue Speedway is finished, then they're wrong. It's just a time in my life when I need to do something different for a little while. So I'd like to thank all the fans who've given me tremendous support up there over the years. They've always backed me 100%. Don't feel that I've let you down because I'll be back again. one day, just when I'm not sure.
Charlie Hodgson gets a chance to re-establish himself in the Sale number 10 jersey when he starts tomorrow's EDF Cup match against Bath. Richard Wigglesworth's been preferred at fly-half for the Sharks' recent games in the Heineken Cup. Prop Rob O'Donnell makes his debut, whilst new signing Dave Ward starts on the bench. The Sharks lost their opening game in the competition at Cardiff, but coach Kingsley Jones is determined things will be different at home.
The EDF is important, and I think we never want to lose at home. We've got 2 home games in the EDF this year, so of course we took that serious as well. And 2 home games, you win those, and more than likely you'll be in a semi-final in a big game. So, you know, we got, as I said, a squad of 30, and we have confidence in all those players to play in any game they selected.
Now in Rugby League, the Warrington captain, Adrian Morley's agreed to take up the 1-year extension on his contract. He'll remain with the club until the end of the 2010 season. Meanwhile, homegrown Wolves duo Chris Riley and Lee Mitchell have agreed new 3-year deals. The St Helens prop James Graham will make his first England start when they kick off the Rugby League World Cup against Papua New Guinea on Saturday. Wigan's Gareth Hock's also been called into the side. Salford's John Wilshire will play for Papua New Guinea and says rugby league is more than just a game in his homeland.
It's almost a religion for him, and you know, throughout all the villages in the homes, like I know my mother's village, there'll be one TV there. You know, there'll be probably about 100 people all coming around just to watch that one television. So, I mean, that just gives you an indication of what the game is like up there and how passionate and how supportive the Papua New Guineans are of their national team.
To football, and the former Manchester City midfielder Joey Barton says he wants to be the role model David Beckham could never be and is grateful for a last chance he doesn't deserve. Barton served a 6-month prison sentence and a 6-match ban, but says he can now reach out to kids who perhaps can't relate to the likes of Beckham.
There's going to be young kids who look at the likes of, you know, Michael Owen and Beckham, who are unbelievable professionals, you know, squeaky clean, and, you know, they can't relate to them. Hopefully I will be able to reach them people who were maybe as before a little bit unreachable, and that's all I can do. I mean, people have reached out for me and helped me when I didn't deserve it, and hopefully, you know, I can be there and sort of be the role model that I haven't been before.
In tonight's first group matches in the UEFA Cup, Tottenham are away to Udinese, Aston Villa play Ajax, and Portsmouth are at Braga. The Dubai-based Zabel Investments have pulled out of a deal to buy Championship side Charlton. They say it's partly because of current concerns about foreign ownership and the worsening economic climate in the UK. And defending champion Andy Murray is due on court at 4 o'clock in the second round of the St Petersburg Open Tennis. He plays Ernest Gulbis of Latvia.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
We'll have coverage of Sale against Bath in rugby union in the all-new Manchester Sports tomorrow night from 7 o'clock.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Let's get this out of the way. Pete says, Alan, I swore allegiance to the crown, much to the chagrin of my missus, who says I spend too much time in there as it is. He even had the decency to put, Babum! Very good. Lewis in Bolton, read a chip in your mouth. Did it fall off your shoulder? No wonder it didn't get to the floor with the size of your mouth. That's not funny. People can be harsh, can't they? Well, when I say they can be harsh, I'm not issuing permission. Take my place to do so. Brian in Boothstown. Hiya, Brian. Hello, Brian. Oh, we have no Brian. We have no bananas either. Hello, Brian. There is no Brian. No matter. No, we're out of Brian. We've run out of all sorts of things, including Brian. It could be worse. We could be running out of brioche. See, that all the middle class would be... What? No brioche? How will we survive? It's horrible brioche. It's like sweet bread. My granny always called the device that she hung the drawers upon a clothes horse. And as we all know, Granny is never wrong. A clothes horse is something entirely different. A clothes horse, you stood in front of the fire. It was like that. You know, it looks like a wigwam, didn't it? No. I refer, says James in Cheshire, to the proposed body scanners at airports. I have a feeling, although the technology is similar, that they are probably not the same, but how many times do you see tin rattlers in North Manchester Children's Hospital as an example who are out there collecting and very much on their own and desperate to find money for MR scanners. And yet, a similar technology is being put into operation without any hesitation whatsoever. It seems wrong to me, but there you go. So what he's suggesting is that the body scanners that they'll have at the airport work in the same way as the body scanners that they would like in every hospital, but haven't got. May be correct. Alan, that passport question raised an anomaly in my mind. On many occasions, the issue of plane tickets with name errors has cropped up here. What happens when a honeymoon couple want to go abroad, when the wife's ticket will presumably have been issued in her maiden name? Clive in Northwich. Well, of course, if you carry the marriage certificate with you, it may be that they accept both, but it is something to be wary of. I think we found Brian. He was in Boothtown all the time. Hello, Brian.
Yes, you found me.
Excellent.
How are you? All right?
I'm very well.
Good. What I wanted to talk about was the congestion charge.
Okay.
I've spoke to you about before. But I've seen all these adverts in the paper, saying, I don't pay it because, so vote yes.
Yes.
Like, I don't pay it because I never go into Manchester.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stupid thing. Or I live in Manchester, so I'm not going to pay it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we know the ones, yeah. There's loads
Right.
of them.
Now, I'd like to make a point. I think eventually every single person will pay it in some way or another. Because when they realise that they aren't getting enough money from the congestion charge to pay back the loan, then a few things could happen, and certainly will, I think. They'll either increase the hours, they'll increase the price, as they've done in London, or indeed they'll put it on the council tax. If they put it on the council tax, everybody will pay.
They can't put it on the council tax. That will be prohibited by regulation. The law would have to change for them to do so.
Well, that doesn't necessarily fill me with great joy, the fact that
the problem is that, or the reality is that the government appears to be keen on the concept of congestion charging, paying as you go, as it were. They're keen on that. So I think it is unlikely that the current government, and equally unlikely, I suspect, its successor, but it's unlikely that the current government would change the rules to create a situation whereby the thing they don't want to happen happens.
Now, I say they're keen on it. Am I not right in thinking that members of Parliament and etc. don't actually pay it in London?
I suspect that is the case, but I don't know.
I wonder why that's why they're so keen on it then.
No, I say the government is keen on it. I didn't say the members of Parliament were, to be honest.
That's just isn't it, really?
No, it's not. There are some members of the Labour Party who are very dead set agin it, and I don't know his opinion for or against the congestion charge, but I know that one local MP, in the form of Graham Stringer, asked a question in the House yesterday about if you like, the lack of bias. He believes there is bias in the question that's been published. The published question, he says, is biased. In what way he thinks it's biased, or indeed what his view is of the congestion charge, I don't know, because I've not spoken to him about it. But there are members of Parliament, even in this area, who are dead set against it, as there are, I believe, some who are for it. Either way, let's get back to the idea that we will all pay it in the end. I don't think in the foreseeable future that they will abandon the congestion charge and merely put it on the rates. I can't see that happening somehow. But you are right in saying that it'll go up in price, because I never know anything that doesn't. So that will happen for sure.
And I feel sure they'll also increase the hours. Because as it stands now, with what they're trying to charge now, I don't think we'll get anywhere near paying off the money that they've borrowed.
Well, again, we don't know whether it will depend on how many pay it, doesn't it, and how much it is. I wouldn't be at all surprised to find out in 2015, 2 years after it's brought in, if it comes in 2015 they extend the hours. It may also be that they make it 24 hours a day. I have no idea.
Well, that's always possible.
Everything is possible. It is equally possible that so many people will pay anyway that they'll pay it off 2 years early and drop it altogether. Everything is possible. You must hedge your bets in whatever way you can, but everything is possible.
Yeah.
But
another point, Alan, sorry to interrupt you, but they were saying initially that only 20% of drivers might actually pay it. Now, recent reports have dropped that down to 10%, which seems
Say
to
again,
me
sorry, I missed that.
I say the recent reports seem to indicate that they've dropped that now down to only 10% of drivers will pay it.
I don't know. I don't know whether anybody knows the answer to that, to be honest.
But if this is what they believe, that only 10% of drivers will pay it, then I don't see there's a problem at all then.
Well, there is if you're one of the 10% and you're a guinea.
No, but I don't see that if there's only 10% of drivers that actually want to pay it, that the problem is not as big as it seems, and there isn't that much congestion.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, the reason nobody knows is because A, it's the future, and B, the whole idea of the congestion charge, unless you're one of those people that believe it's a punishment for drivers and a fundraiser and all the rest of it, if you accept the declared objective, the objective of the congestion charge is twofold. One, to get motorists to pay for improvements in public transport, with the ultimate objective of getting fewer people to use the motor car. Now, if that is successful, then yes, only 10% will pay it. It depends on how you do the calculation. If you looked at motoring today and said that of the journeys that take place in Greater Manchester at the moment, 10% will pay it, you're right, there's no point in doing it. However, if you look at it today and say, well, today 80% would pay it, but that's because public transport's rubbish. So if we improve public transport and 70% of the current users choose not to, that will leave 10% still using private transport, and they'll pay it. So it depends on how you do the calculation and what the consequence of the improvement or benefit, the other way, the benefit of public transport is. I'll be amongst the 10%. There is no way on God's earth I'll be coming to Manchester on public transport if the bus stops outside our house, provides me with a bed and free coffee and tips me out at the BBC and then gives me a £5. I'll still come in the car.
You don't have a bed in your car, do you? No.
I don't have a bed in the car, no, on account I have to drive the blessed thing. Right. But you know what I mean? There are people who, frankly, won't bother.
Just one more point on
Go
that.
on.
Now, they're talking about putting 300 or so extra buses on the road. That was the figure that was in the paper.
Yeah.
Now, the bus companies are all private.
Yes.
So, are we actually paying for those 300 buses to be given to private businesses?
No, we aren't. But we will pay for them indirectly, just like we pay for everything. My understanding is that what will happen is routes that currently don't exist will be created. Routes that currently don't make money will be supported. So money will go to what in order for bus companies to buy buses, they need to think they'll make a profit from it. Now, at the moment, they can't make a profit from some of the routes, so they're subsidised. There are other routes that they can't make a profit because, like if I want to come by bus, I live near, well, if I was going to catch the bus to work, I'd catch it in Leigh at the terminus. And if I want to come by bus to Manchester, it would probably take me 2 hours. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to say to the bus company, right, we're building a road specially for you, and only you will be allowed on that road. So that makes the journey quicker. So instead of 2 hours, it will be less than that. And so for me, or people living in Leigh, instead of sitting on the East Lancashire Road in the traffic for 2 hours every morning and going frantic, I get on the bus. Because it's easier, because the bus has been given priority. That means more people get on the bus. It's worthwhile, the bus company buying buses, because that's what they do. They buy buses to make a profit with. They'll make more profit because there's more people on them. That's the proposal. That's how it works.
Just one thing, again, I was coming into Manchester along, I think it's Ashton Old Road, coming back into Manchester probably about 8 o'clock yesterday in the morning, and I was stuck in traffic, heavy traffic going into it. And the whole cause of this was a bus lane, which is no more than sort of half a mile long at the most. And once it got actually to the bus lane, everybody had filtered, zoom, they were in.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the daft thing is that, of course, further back, the bus itself is also caught in the bottleneck.
Yeah.
But it just seems crazy. Had the bus lane not been there, then everybody would have been able to just zoom through.
Well, I don't know how that particular one works and how beneficial it is, but I think some of the bus lanes we've got, some of them, not all by any means, work on the basis of slowly, slowly catch your monkey. Put in a bit, people get used to it, put in another bit, the next thing you know, it's all the way down the street. But we shall see. Anyway, good on you. Thank you very much indeed. If you're interested in contributing to the congestion question, then we are, of course, BBC Manchester is running the congestion question. It's your chance to have your say. And we've done the bit about do you want it, don't you want it, and you're going to get a referendum on that in December. The question was published just a week or so ago. I think it was Monday, wasn't it? Or was it the Monday before? It's all a blur. But you can go, if you wish, to bbc.co.uk/Manchester. And then there are 5 questions there. And if you answer one of the 5 options, you can see a map of what people are saying around Greater Manchester and things like that. Different areas will be affected differently, and I suspect as a result will vote differently. But you can see how it would affect you. How do you think it would affect you? We can talk about that tomorrow on air if you want with me, after 12 o'clock, of course. But the congestion charge, it's on everybody's mind, and I suppose it should be in the circumstances, given that, well, frankly, it will in the end affect us all. And when Brian started off saying, we'll all pay it, in the end, of course, he's correct. He's correct in that if businesses have to pay it, they will indeed. Of course they will. They will change the pricing in order to accommodate that. Of course they will. Why would they not? Only an idiot wouldn't. So in the end, rather like everything else that happens, we will all pay it. Even the money that they're talking about as getting free, gratis and for now, the £1.5 billion up front, well, that comes out of taxation, and taxation comes out of taxes. That's how it gets its name. And you and me pay them, even if we only buy a packet of matches. See you tomorrow. Ta-da now.
Celebrate Salford's superb musical heritage.